We begin tonight with the decision of a high court in Owerri, the Imo State capital, to release the 114 women detained by a magistrate court for about 4 days after a peaceful protest. The women were remanded on Monday and arraigned by the Imo State Police Command after what they describe as a peaceful protest on the streets of Owerri, demanding to know the whereabouts of the missing acclaimed IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. The bail application, which was filed by the lead counsel to the defendants, Ejiofor Uche, was not opposed, as the plaintiffs' Imo State Police Command had no representation in court. The spokesperson of the indigenous people of Biafra, Emmanuel Powerful, says the latest action taken by the court is necessary because the protesting women had not violated any law or rule of the Nigerian government. He insisted that the group is more committed and determined to achieve their independence, adding that a mega protest will come up in the days ahead. Meanwhile, before the women were released from detention, a presidential aspirant, Mr. Kingsley Mohalo, had called for their release, describing the police action as arbitrary and intolerable. The former deputy governor of the central bank says security agencies are quick to arrest citizens, even when they're only protesting in defense of their fundamental human rights. Mr. Mohalo had visited the women in prison and the High Court to seek their release.
Nigeria's security agencies are very quick and effective to lock up and bottle up Nigerian citizens who are protesting for their rights or in defense of their political views. I think that this is wrong, and I think it's time for it to stop. Wherever it may happen in this country, in the north, in the west, in the south, in the east, this should not be tolerated anymore. That's why I'm here, and I'm here to call upon the controller of the Nigerian prisons to release these 112 women now. We are saying enough is enough. We need these women released right now, and we need an end to these types of arbitrary actions against Nigerian citizens by Nigerian police.
Now, the arrest of the Owerri women and their subsequent detention also sparked criticism by prominent Nigerians and human rights groups on social media. The co-convener of the Bring Back Our Girls group, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, tweeted, quote, "We as citizens must never permit the constitutional rights of any Nigerian to be trampled on, especially by those whose duty it is to defend them," end of quote. The former chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Chidi Odinkalu, says, "Thank you, everyone who lent a voice to see we achieved #FreeOwerri112 before the onset of the weekend. Thank you." That was after they were released. And Amnesty International tweeted, quote, "Freedom for #Owerri Women came thanks to the resilience of many activists, civil society organizations, and pro bono lawyers. Together, we can ensure that all Nigerians live with dignity," end of quote. Now, angry youths in Iwo community of Osun State have set the office of the police area command and 6 other buildings within the area on fire following the killing of a student by the officer of the Special Anti-Rob Squad. The protesters reportedly stormed the area command, forcing the policemen on duty to flee to safety. The slain student, who was simply identified as Tunde Nafiu, is reported to have been returning from Iwo from Olupono town. The mob also lit bonfires around strategic locations in the town to vent their anger. The Commissioner of Police, Fimiho Adeoye, who confirmed the incident, said 1 out of the 4 policemen on patrol last night actually shot a student under circumstances yet to be established. He said the 4 officers have been arrested and are presently in detention for further investigation. The police commissioner also explained that there is relative calm now, but maintained that all those who took laws into their hands will be dealt with according to the law. And while this action by a SARS operative is being handled, police authorities have begun the overhaul of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, in line with the presidential directive. The police unit is now to be known as the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad, with a new Commissioner of Police appointed to monitor its operations, among other changes to ensure total compliance with the directive. The new Commissioner of Police for FSARS, Mr. Haliru Gwandu, says the squad will be intelligence-driven and its activities restricted to detection and prevention of armed robbery and kidnapping across the country. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, reports.
The Special Anti-Robbery Squad was formed in 1991. At the time, a notorious bandit called Shinarambo had terrorized southwest Nigeria, and SARS was formed to stem the tide of car theft and armed robbery. Over the years, personnel of SARS have deviated from their primary objective, and members of the public have complained about human rights violations by the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. This gave rise to the End SARS campaign led by this man, Mr. Segun Awosonya. At 3:42 p.m. on the 14th of August 2018, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, in a tweet, directed that SARS be overhauled immediately and asked the National Human Rights Commission to set up a panel to investigate these reported human rights violations. It is in response to this that this press conference has been called.
We learned our lesson from the fact that we have to be careful in bringing in who become a SARSman. Not only that, but they've been restricted on the assignment that they're going to perform. I'm just telling you that we're going to do this together.
The Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad will be headed by this police officer, Mr. Haliru Gwandu. FSARS will not be deployed for stop-and-search operations unless in the case of a distress call. Personnel will not be allowed to escort VIPs. They will not be allowed to attend to civil, land or cybercrime matters, and will undergo psychological evaluations before and during the course of their service in the police to ensure they are sound-minded. Compliance with these rules will be ensured by the head of the Inspector General of Police X-Squad.
And nobody will just be sent into SARS without proper orientation and without proper screening, no matter who you are.
The convener of the End SARS movement expressed gratitude for the reforms and promised to help the police raise funds independently.
We are going to, do what we can, including raising funds, for the police, independent funding system that will not come to us. It will be monitored by all and audited by public, reputable firms.
Members of the public are enjoined to look out for anyone wearing the former SARS uniform and report them to the appropriate authorities. They have also been warned not to give the police misleading information on human rights abuses. Citizens are also advised to conduct themselves respectfully when interfacing with the police. The overhaul of SARS may be a welcome development to the vast majority of Nigerians. However, how will the new Commissioner of Police for the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad ensure that the mistakes of SARS are not repeated by the new squad? What's different this time? The question still lingers. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.
Now, the new Commissioner for Police for FSARS, Mr. Haliru Gwandu, joins me live now from Abuja. Thanks a lot for joining us on the news at 10. All right, let me go ahead now. From what we can see, the reforms center mainly around the modalities of operation, name change. We've seen plans for uniform change as well. But do you think that's enough, looking at the number of cases of human rights violations against officers?
Oh, thank you for having me tonight. I think in compliance with the presidential directives, the Inspector General of Police has directed that all the state SARS have now collapsed to federal SARS. That is the new nomenclature. Like you all know, federal SARS as an outfit drives its power under Section 4 of the Police Act. Section 4 of the Police Act mandates the police officer to prevent and detect crime, to apprehend offenders, to preserve law and order, and of course to protect life and property and enforce any rules and any law and regulations. But the new federal SARS, as reformed, is mandated to fight crime under two critical incidents. armed robbery and kidnapping. They derived the same power under Section 4 of the Police Act.
All right. Can I just quickly stop you there? You talked about the new, FSAS reforming, but just
That's
today...
the new FSAS.
Yes.
They are to fight crime.
Yes, but what I want to ask you about that is concerning what happened today in Osun State with some angry youths burning down buildings in an area command, and then the reprisal alleging that the killing of their colleague was done by a SARS officer. And you're talking about the fact that we have new reforms. So how do you respond to that?
We are yet to receive such an information about the illegal activities of any SARS as at the time of this interview. When there is such information, I will feed you with the correct details. For now, we don't have the correct information whether it is SARS or not SARS, because the reforms have already directed that all SARS personnel should revert to conventional uniforms. Policemen now are wearing conventional uniform. Pending the time, the new SARS uniforms are provided to all the states in the Federation.
Okay, let me just ask you quickly, how are you going to ensure that the new FSARs stick to their mandate of just armed robbery and kidnapping? Because we do find that sometimes they go outside their scope of operation. So now that it's been delineated this way, what are you going to do differently?
Well, I think the new guidelines clearly spelled their mandate. The mandate is to curtail kidnapping and armed robbery. Apart from these two, the federal SARS are no longer to take any civil or commercial case. They are not to be seen on stop and search, except on distress call.
Yes, the question is how you're going to...
If there is any violent crime and there is distress call for them to attend, that one is allowed.
The question is
but
how you're going to
that,
allow
they
that
are
to
not
happen.
Supposed to be seen on any stop and search.
Yeah, sorry, but quickly now, the question is how you're going to ensure that that is done. How will you make that happen?
Call here is, while an armed robbery is ongoing somewhere and victims make a call to invite those who can rescue them, the federal SARS can swift for intervention, and that is allowed. That is why we say, except if there is distress call, they should not be seen on stop and search. They are not also to double into cyber crime issues where they will apprehend innocent citizens on this Yahoo issue. That is not allowed.
All right.
I think the rules of engagements are very clear. The rule stated that they have to be consistent in their approach, in identifying and the management of these two violent crimes, armed robbery and kidnapping.
All right, thank you so much.
They are also supposed to give non-discriminatory type of services, proportionate and very transparent, and they should be accountable to the members of the public. In doing that, they must observe the rules of the game. For instance, rules of engagement where they're expected to follow the due process.
All right.
So that they conform to democratic norms.
All right. The new Commissioner of Police for FSARS, Mr. Haliru Gwandu, thank you for joining us on the news at 10 tonight. And in part two, after the break, hectic time for commuters as Third Mainland Bridge closes to traffic for 4 days. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.